Welcome into the Speeding in the Pits podcast with your hosts, myself, Wyatt Williams, and Connor Klon Huberty. How are we doing today, sir? March Madness is going. I mean, it's a good time of the year, baby.
It's besides the Daytona 500. Honestly, this is one of my favorite weeks of the year. So
It's a good one.
We're right in it, man. It's Christmas number 3, I think, actually on my list.
Yeah.
But I also just looked as we hit record that I didn't change my name, so you get 2 Wyatts this week.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Hey, we got 2 Wyatts in here today.
Yeah.
Is there a way to change that mid-show? There's got to be, right?
There is. Yeah, I can mess with it. I've done it before. But
You're all good.
No, not my best.
So we've got 2 Wyatts doing the show today. You guys are in for a real treat. Just kidding. If there was 2 Wyatts, that would be terrible. Man, we had a really interesting weekend, and at the moment, a look ahead at maybe a even more interesting weekend involving wildfires. So we're gonna
everything.
We're gonna touch on that. We are recording this a little later in the week than usual, just because life kind of happens, and we've had to push this back a little bit. We wanted to make sure we got this episode out this week. But hey, Barry wins at Vegas this weekend. They dialed up the blackjack, man.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of wow. How did we not see the stars aligning faster than that? But
right?
No, great win.
He's
for
a
him.
21. Yeah, perfect.
It makes sense.
You know who didn't line up the blackjack?
Ooh,
Ryan Blaney. Dude,
he lined up the wall.
Whoo! Oh my gosh, we're gonna talk about that later on in the show. We're gonna talk about horsepower and cars. Denny has got a new sponsor. 18 races this year. That's pretty big, and
Monster.
It's not FedEx, so that's kind of weird. But they start this weekend with the new sponsor. NASCAR touched on some of the rules involving Seabell and him pitting in a other pit box than his own. And we got a lot of great stuff here for the show today. But starting out with Barry winning at Vegas, it's for me, it's almost refreshing to see one of these short track, small town, local guys win a cup race. And I love the way that Dale Jr. explained it. Dale Jr. had Josh on this week and talked about how he had started at the lowest level and won his championship at his local short track. Then he jumped up to some Midwestern series and won there. And then he jumped up to another series and won there and just kept climbing. And now, like, when Josh Berry climbed out of the car and he got up on the top of the car and, threw the hands up in the air with the fans, and then he turned around and just sat on the car and just looked down at his team and stuff. And it's just like, that was such a, I've awesome. Climbed the mountain, now I'm enjoying the view moment. It was quite just literally. It was so cool to see.
Yeah, man, it's refreshing. And I sit on this show all the time and complain about Xfinity guys that are 18 and 19 and getting shots in cup and talking about how guys are coming too early and need more time to develop and all that stuff. And they're just not ready. Josh is like the exact opposite, like the latest of late bloomers. But to your point, instead of getting rushed because of money and things like that, actually had to earn it and go win races. And it's a throwback. He truly is like a blast from the past. And I don't know. I just absolutely love it. I wish there were more stories like him out there, but you got to celebrate the ones we do have. So I'm pumped about it.
Absolutely. And I think like a lot of people seem to be surprised and everything at the success that they've had this year. Personally, and this is something that I talked about in the off season, I'm just really not that surprised because he's incredibly talented. And every single time that he has filled in for a driver in a great cup car, he's had great results. When Chase Elliott broke his leg and he had to fill in the 9 car for half of a season, he finished second at Richmond, had some great runs at other tracks, and then gets out of the 9 car. Chase comes back, and then a couple weeks later, Alex Bowman has issues. I believe, didn't he break a vertebrae in his back or something?
Got hurt. Yep.
Yeah, broke his back while he was dirt racing. He jumps in the 48 and starts racing that car really well. So, like, yes, it's obviously a surprise. I expected it to be Bell or Larson this past weekend in that sense of a surprise. Yeah. But I'm not like surprised that Barry's had this success this year and been able to go get a win and everything, because basically that 21 car is an extension of the Penske cars. It's essentially a 4th Penske car. We all know that. It's put together in the Penske garage by the Penske team. And I just think, and this is no knock on Harrison Burton. He had a great win last year, and I think he has a very, great career ahead of him. But I think we're just seeing a elite driver back in that seat. I mean, I don't think we've had an elite driver since Ryan Blaney sat in that seat. So
No.
I think we're
Yeah.
finally seeing someone who is elite again, and that's why we're not having this dip that the 21 has had for the last couple of years. And the Wood brothers are, having some good wins here. So I myself, I'm not like overly surprised at the fact that they're having this kind of success. Yeah, like we said, it's just refreshing to see a short track guy win, and especially for the Wood brothers too. It all works out. The 21 wins in Vegas, which hey, blackjack, let's go. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, to that point too, like I'm not shocked, I guess, that Josh could go win in this car. I don't know if I would have picked him to win a race this year. I think probably in our preview episode I said no, but like this was definitely not the track I thought that would happen at. Like a mile and a half, the cookie cutter mile and a half.
No,
Like you said, this is such a Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell had that written all over it. And even as that race kind of started and the way it was progressing, like yeah, Josh had a decently fast car all day, but Ryan Blaney was truly like the only Ford that felt like he had speed to win the race. And he had some strategy at the end, like help Josh get to the front. Just the way cautions were falling at odd times, like it just kind of worked out. But I mean, he drove away with it at the end. He passed Suarez. Like
he
the
did.
car has speed. He's got speed. And I'm not going to be quite as generous as you are. I don't think they've had like a cup regular in that car. I mean, Menard, I guess, kind of technically at the end of his career, sort of. But besides Blaney, they haven't had a guy like Harrison. Yeah, like I think if you're learning anything in the last couple of years, this is
Yeah.
as clear cut comparison as you can get. And Matt DiBenedetto was fine for a while, but again, like
Matt DiBenedetto was just like it was just a good story.
had flashes, but it just
Yeah,
never
just didn't
really
work
worked
out.
out. Not like this. I mean, never had a run quite like
I
this at a
met
mile
I
and a
met
half.
Matt
But
DiBenedetto one time at Kentucky Motor Speedway.
oh yeah,
He told me that
how
his
was that?
buddies called him D Burrito. So
I've heard
that was pretty
that
cool.
before for him, but that would be a sick nickname.
Yeah,
I'd enjoy that.
it's like, hey, D Benedetto, your last name, that's already a cool last name. But hey, D Burrito, like,
Easier to
of
say,
course. Yeah, no. So that
more
was
common.
that was a fun day. Anyway, sorry to go off topic there. Another thing that I wanted to bring up here about Vegas is the issues on pit road that we saw. I mean, we saw a ton of issues on pit road, whether if it was speeding, loose tires, drivers pulling into other drivers' pit stalls, drivers running into other drivers trying to exit their pit stalls. I mean,
Disaster.
all hell was breaking loose, Klon. It was crazy.
Well, it even started with the truck race on Friday night with Tyler Ankram's whole deal with his truck not being set right, and then he totally threw his engineers and crew members under the bus and blamed them
Yeah,
for how things went. And
that
of
was
course, it's not his
crazy.
fault, which is the wildest racing interview I've seen in recent memory. Like just blatantly calling out everybody besides himself that things didn't go right. Not a good way to earn yourself another ride, buddy. But I
No,
mean,
no,
that's
it's not.
not my decision. But uh, yeah, just it's such an odd pit road anyway at Vegas, like just how tight of a turn that is off of 4 to even make it on. So I feel like the timing and scoring is kind of tricky to figure out. But I don't know, man. It was, besides the speeding penalties, it was brutal. Like we couldn't put a lug nut on to save a life. Tires are flying everywhere. Carson Hocevar didn't know how to just wait a second, or I guess Ty Gibbs either. But whatever, man. It's just a mess out there.
That was a crapshoot. Oh my gosh. And
Dude,
like
it's
I don't know. I don't feel like Gibbs did anything really wrong in that situation. I just feel like
well,
Carson Osavar just needs to be a little more patient. And it might even be one of those things where that's on his crew chief. I haven't listened back to the audio, so I don't know if they had mentioned it at all. But
yeah.
like as a crew chief, you got to let your guy know, hey, dude, there is a large 6,000, 8,000, however much, how much they weigh. I'm way off there. That's
Cars like 3,500,
yeah,
35.
way off. Sorry about that. I'm awake now. You got a
That's
3,500 pound machine on your right there, buddy. Maybe not pull out and door slam it like that. That might be the play.
yeah. Well, they did mention on the broadcast that like somehow it wasn't communicated between the two teams, that you usually work that out who's pulling in first or waiting for the other, vice versa. And obviously Ty was having just another abysmal day. I don't even know what's going on
Yeah,
there. That's a song for another time. But like
yeah.
he'd probably be the one that has to wait, I would imagine. But just for the sake of track position, I don't know how somebody wasn't talking to Carson, like you said. Like, if you pull out right now, it's not going to work. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, it's just very obvious that something was missed. But yeah, just crazy on top of everything else too. Like, I don't know how we can't put these tires on. I thought the whole point of the single lug nut was these things weren't supposed to fall off. Like,
Faster and more efficient pit stops, Klon.
and safer
That's what
because the
this
tires
and
were going to stay
safer.
on.
And it's safer because the tires are going to stay on.
I've seen more tires fall off in the last 3.5 years than
Dude,
anything else in my lifetime. Like,
it's
I
honestly,
think we've
it's
missed
so
something.
ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
How's this happening?
No, actually, how is this happening?
The
It's
whole
just
point was because, so for those that don't know, the whole point of going to single lugs for safety was teams back in the day, instead of putting all 5 lug nuts on like you have on your car, teams would cheat and only put like 3 or 4 on because it was faster.
yeah, and that would hold the tire down.
Do enough, and then NASCAR was catching it because they checked that after the race, or they did.
Yeah.
We have a very hard time with 1, so maybe we should go back to 5 because we get 5 chances to get it on right instead of 1. I guess I don't know. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. But like,
Well,
Kyle Busch's wreck was completely
dude,
due to this, and
yeah.
just the complete opposite of what NASCAR said they were going to come out and prevent. So I don't get it, but whatever. I'm not in charge.
Yeah. No, absolutely. If we were in charge, things would be different, Klon. We'd put an end to some
Maybe.
of this madness. We at least try. But
Yeah.
anyways, speaking of madness, we mentioned it a little bit earlier, but now we're going to fully dive into it. Ryan Blaney just had the worst day possible. I mean, we talked about Barry having a blackjack. Ryan Blaney had a 20 and the dealer pulled a 6-card 21. That was essentially what the day for the 12 was. It
All
was
weekend.
just abysmal. Like, and it was one step forward, 27 steps back every single time. And he goes 2 laps down. They have this issue on pit road. They're able to finally dig their way out of the hole, because even at the stage break, they weren't the lucky dog. So they had to continue digging out of this hole. So then they finally get out, and what do you know? He's working his way through the pack, and boom, into the wall.
The dude was like 6th at one point. Got all the way back to like basically the top 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was crazy in itself. And then it couldn't have been more than 10 laps later, he was in ambulance again. But
yeah, and something on a more serious note too. You had texted me about this, and I think a lot of people noticed and brought it up on Twitter and stuff. The head injuries, involving our sport is a very serious issue, and it's ended a lot of incredible careers, Dale Jr. included. And while we never want to, say that's what's happening here or anything like that, these are a lot of shots that Ryan Blaney has taken in the last 3 seasons. I mean, seriously, it feels like
in the next gen
2
era.
or 3, in the next gen era as a whole, really. I mean, it feels like 2 or 3 times a year he alone is just pummeled at some point. And mostly it happens at Daytona with him. But man,
like
right. But I want to see where this career goes. I really do. I think he's got a ridiculously bright future ahead of him. And I don't know what needs to be done with the 12 car, or what it needs to be to make this a little bit safer for him, or I don't know. I just hate to see this, because man, that post race interview was disheartening, because when I believe it was Jamie Little asked him, like, how are you feeling? And he just says, thanks, and turns around and walks away. It was like, oh.
Yeah. It
And he just seemed confused the whole time, just kind of wasn't in it. I don't know. And I don't want to be like speculating. I am not a doctor by any means, but
right.
I love Ryan Blaney, and I absolutely hate seeing that.
Right. Well, it makes you think. I mean, like you mentioned, the history of it now, just more recently, because obviously head injuries as a whole across sports and life in general just weren't talked about 20, 25 years ago. And now, since Dale, really like 2015, 16, 17, has brought a little bit more awareness to like what concussions are in the racing world, what they look like and feel like. And as fans, you obviously pay attention. So you see stuff like that happen with Ryan, and it does make you think. Like you said, we're not doctors and we don't know Ryan, and we would never actually know his medical history until something's publicly announced. But like, it does make you think. Like, Kurt Busch took one of these hits and his career ended in 2022. Like, it didn't take much. And not to compare apples to oranges, but like, Ryan's taken a lot of hits more severe than that, has shown what we would think as symptoms of concussions before. And it is concerning because Ryan's great for the sport. He's one of the more perfect people in the sport right now you could have, that's a defending champion or a past champion, you call it. And he's a great spokesperson, great person you want advertised for a long time for the future of NASCAR and for fans alike, to have somebody to pull for. Like, it's all good things for him. But I was texting another friend of mine too after that, and he's a diehard Ryan Blaney guy. And I basically said, like, I want his career to be 10 to 15 more years. I don't want it to be 5 more. Like, that's the whole thing. Is we're at the point here where, again, nothing's been diagnosed. I to my knowledge, he's never missed a race or been diagnosed with concussion, which gives me a lot of vibes, unfortunately, of like where Dale Jr. was at around 2012, 2013, like when he took that big hit, I think it was at Kansas, like, and then did sit out for his first time. Like, that means Dale had countless concussions beforehand where this finally got worse. And the more you watch it and the more you go back and, like you said, the Daytona wrecks and everything, the more it makes you think like this could be the same thing, that we're just not talking about it. And then all of a sudden the day is going to come where one just hits a little bit worse and these symptoms get worse as you keep getting more. Like, let's say Homestead this weekend, it doesn't sound like he's not racing. He smacks the fence again. Like, one of these would be bad enough to take him out of the car. Again, if these are all concussions, I know we said we weren't going to speculate, but really the only way you can talk about it. But it makes you think. Like, there's just so much awareness here that, like, we've seen as fans of a lot of people's favorite drivers' careers in the last 7, 8 years have ended because of concussions. And so this car is already proven to actually be harder on guys' heads and the whiplash and the force it creates in wrecks. And there's really not much more they can do to it. After Kurtz, they pretty much did everything else they could, and this is what we got now. So I I'm a little I'm worried, obviously. I'm concerned in the sense that, like, there's nothing you could do about it anymore to help these guys. Like, what they've done is all they can do. They're maxed out essentially. And I if Ryan needs help, I sincerely hope he's getting it, because like I said, his 10 to 15 year plan looks and sounds a lot better to me than what a 5-year career would be. So hopefully, if that conversation's needing to happen, it is. But I don't know. It's concerning.
Absolutely. It 100% is. So we wish Ryan the best moving forward with these wrecks and everything like that, and wish him a great end of the season. Moving on here to some major changes in NASCAR, especially with one of their drivers. My entire life, Klon, I feel like there's just never been, like, when I think of FedEx and I think of NASCAR, I think of
Legit.
Denny Hamlin. It's just the way that it's always been. He's always driven in that FedEx car, and he's got a new full-time sponsor since FedEx bowed out last year, and it is Progressive. So did you see the car?
Yeah. Yeah. It
It
looks just
is
like Chase Elliott's Amazon car.
slick. It actually does. It totally
It's the
does. I
same
didn't even
car.
think about that.
It's the same
It,
color.
it
Literally
is.
the same color.
It is. I didn't even think
You
about that.
and Progressive, like, hey, I know your colors are your colors, but like, most popular driver in the entire sport, you might want to check his paint schemes out before you sign up, because it sounds like there's one weekend now in the 18 races Progressive's committed to where Chase is going to run the Amazon car, and like, those two things they're going to be twins.
Awesome.
They're the
Yep.
same thing.
That's going to be fun for their spotters.
Yeah, it'll be great. I'm sure. Be
That's
great
going to be,
marketing too, because now
that's
nobody
going
can tell who's who.
to,
It's nice. Good
exactly.
job.
Man, that the car does look slick.
It is nice. Yes, to be
It's
fair, it does
just
look good.
weird though. Like, again, I just can't see him not being in a FedEx car as the primary sponsor. Seeing him now moving to FedEx,
Yeah,
it's
for a
just, or
whole
not
year.
FedEx to
Yeah,
Progressive. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just weird. But, that comes with anything. When Cat went to the Knicks, I'm sure you've had some
it's weird.
readjusting to do
It's
mentally. I,
very
I know it's weird for me too. Every time, and I'm not even like a diehard Wolves fan like you and Austin are, but like,
Oh,
Man, I
Yas
watch a
is
Knicks
Yas is
game.
his own world, man.
Yeah,
But
right.
yeah,
Right. But I'll watch a Knicks game and I'll be like, oh,
oh, wait a
cat
minute. Yeah,
cat in a what? Hold on.
yeah.
Oh
No,
yeah, that's
it's
right.
still
He
odd.
is there.
It's still
So
odd. But to your point, to bring it back to Denny, like, it is a very positive thing that Progressive is willing to come into the sport, and not just a little bit, like, for 18 races is a major sponsorship. Like, yeah, it was cool to bring it back to Chase again that Amazon's here, but Amazon's only doing what, like 3 or 4 races or whatever. Like,
I think so.
it's nice to have
It's
them as
not
a
a lot.
sponsor, but I do miss the days, not to keep bringing up the old days here, but like early 2000s, every car had a sponsor where it was like, I know what that is. Like, oh, Caterpillar, Bobcats are, well, I'm using a different brand name, but front end loaders or different stuff. Like, I know what that is. Interstate Batteries, Napa Auto Parts. Like, I can name more sponsors
Name
from the 2005 season right now than I could
yeah.
2025.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so
And you
much
can
more
name the driver that
recognizable.
goes along with them too. It was just we just
Exactly.
didn't have an
Exactly.
identity issue with it, Home Depot,
Right.
Tony Stewart, DuPont,
Yeah.
Jeff Gordon, Lowe's,
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson, DeWalt, Matt Kenseth, the
Yeah.
list goes on. So
Right.
no, I totally see your point.
It's awesome.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see him in a progressive car. Speaking of interesting, this is kind of flashing back to this previous conversation we had a couple minutes ago about some of the issues we had on pit road. One of those involved Christopher Bell. And basically, Bell went out of his pit stall, and his crew had noticed that his lug nuts were not tight enough on, and the tire was going to come off, which in our world of racing, that gets you a 2-race suspension for the crew members involved.
Which is a
So,
big deal to
which
those
is
listening.
huge.
Oh, no, like that's a big old problem.
That's huge. So he dives off into Chase Briscoe's pit box, a teammate of his, and they reattach the lug nuts. Well, a lot of people are saying, "What the heck? Why that shouldn't be allowed?" But turns out like the Joe Gibbs crew, they just know the rules extremely well. I respect that. I respect the heck out of that. Like
Yeah.
knowing the rules to a fine tee to where okay, if this were to happen and we get out of our box and we're like, oh crap, the lug nut is not securely on, and he can't come back at this point.
Yeah.
Knowing that you can pull into a teammate's pit stall, which is a rule that not a lot of people knew, it's just like I love those high IQ moments in sports where you just knowing the rule, like those YouTube compilations, knowing
Yeah.
the rules.
Yeah. No,
It
absolutely.
was cool.
You're exactly right. Like, now, what do I think of the rule? Do I think it should be allowed? No, I think it's kind of dumb that, like, somebody that's not actually working on the car wearing the uniform with the matching sponsor and is technically a teammate, like,
It was
because
odd to see. I was like, what?
because I think it opens a weird door where, like, it enables, again, the the teams that spend more, the teams that have more money, that have the resources, because multi-car teams, this is a lot easier for. Like, imagine if this happens to Cole Custer. Like, is he just supposed to be under the assumption he's going to find a friend to pit in somebody's pit box? Like,
I
you
can tell
know,
you right now, they'd all tell him to go to hell.
right. That's what I'm like.
It's
So
true.
Cole Custer pulls into, I mean, he'd try to find a Ford ideally, but does Brad Keselowski really want to help Cole Custer? Like,
No,
by manufacturer
not
relationships,
especially
yeah,
after
I guess.
Daytona. Nobody wants to help Cole Custer.
Right. But that's what I mean. Like,
Just kidding.
I just think you're opening a really, really weird door. So I just get rid of it altogether and say, hey, sorry, Christopher, like, your tire was gonna fall off. That's apparently they all do, but maybe it wouldn't have been so bad if only yours did. But I I just don't see the point of allowing it really altogether. But again, that's just me. I think you just get rid of it altogether. But hats off to them for knowing they could too. I mean, like you said, that is the rule. So they just know how to play it, which seemingly the Toyotas and Joe Gibbs always seem to know the rules really well. So I think other teams should hopefully start paying attention to maybe reading
Right.
those books.
Right.
But
Exactly. Everybody gets the same handbook every year. It's all right there.
some people read it, and I don't
So,
think some others do.
it's
But
like the class syllabus, man. Everybody throws it away, but that one kid, that one
that
kid always read through it and he knew where that extra credit was to get
that
it.
kid that knew that he could bring a note card to the final, yeah,
Yep.
he earned it. Exactly.
That was not me, unfortunately. I was not that guy.
Did you go to syllabus week?
No, no. I was a horrible student. I was a horrible
Made it.
student until college. Then I started caring. I shouldn't even say that. I was a
That's
horrible
nice.
student in all classes that didn't involve sportscasting. If it was a
Well,
sportscasting class, then
good thing that's what you went
I'm
to
there.
college for.
Yeah, right. I'm there. But if it was, whatever the heck, college mathematics, whatever, can't remember what the science class I had to take was called. No, I wasn't
That's
dialed in.
probably that explains why you,
That
yeah, because you
exactly.
didn't
I
read
couldn't
the
even tell you what it
syllabus. Yeah,
was.
you don't know what it was.
I have no clue what it was. I remember, ironically, the science class actually ended up being kind of fun. We had one exercise where we had to do an online simulated cannonball shooter with and apply certain gravities and
That
not have
sounds
some
sick.
gravities. Yeah, I was like, where has this science been all my life? I actually gave two shits. Like,
Well, the problem with those games that always got me too is you get to play the game and the game was fun, and then you have to go
yeah,
back and like
you
do the
just
math to actually
yeah.
like learn why the game works. And it's like I only signed up for half this crap,
I
not the whole
I
thing.
just want to play with the cannonball shooter. I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't
exactly.
know what all this math is behind it. Okay, so now we move on to Homestead. We might not even be racing this weekend. Like, we got a wildfire coming down there, which we were talking pre-show, and I don't understand how the Everglades burns. It's all swamp. How do you burn a swamp?
Swamp and dry weeds. Like, I mean, there's definitely stuff that burns. That I mean, if the fire's
sure.
big enough and hot enough, like it'll spread through some wet
Right.
stuff too. But like, yeah, that would not have guessed Mother Nature would bust out the wildfire delay
No.
in Homestead, Florida. I thought for sure we'd save that for when we were up north or something, but
Right.
here we are again, man. We're finding new ways for races to get potential. Nothing's been announced yet, so like I think everything's on his plan at this point. But we're talking Thursday night right now, so if we find out, it's gonna be pretty soon. But yeah, it doesn't look good. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. I'm not a firefighter, but that doesn't look like it's supposed to.
I'm not a firefighter, but the fire does not look good.
But that's on fire. Yep.
Yeah, but that's on fire. Put that on a t-shirt, man, with a little dash that says Klon at the bottom. So hopefully we get to race this weekend. Thanks to all the firefighters out there fighting that, trying to get that thing tamed down so we can get on the track this weekend. Shout out to them. Appreciate you, boys.
I think they said closest front of the fire right now is right around 3 miles out from the track, but that might have been yesterday too. So I haven't gotten an update in 24 hours, but
that's terrifying.
Close enough that you should be very concerned if you have tickets to go or you live nearby, I would think.
Have you ever seen Modern Family?
Bits and I've never seen the whole thing.
Dude, first off, it's my favorite show of all time. It's fantastic. And the episode where Mitch and Cam
you legit
get married,
look like the one dude.
Who, Cam?
Kinda, a little bit.
Dude, everybody says that. Everybody says that. A
little bit.
All my friends say that. Gosh dang it. Now I hate it. Even someone who is a casual at the show even says it. All my buddies who watch it religiously like me, they're like, you look Cam, man. You look like Cam.
Just a little. I don't think like you're not a spitting image of each other or anything, but a little bit.
Look like, dang it. Okay,
he's
so
funny. I think
he is very, that's
play
true.
Football in Illinois. That's awesome.
That's true. That's true. I wish I was that cool.
Here.
I wish I was that cool.
I mean, you're a Purdue guy, but whatever.
Oh wow, here we go. Exactly. I am. I don't know. Am I supposed to say that? I'm a Purdue guy through Trey Coffin Ram. I don't have crazy ties or anything. I don't know though. I've kind of enjoyed these last couple of years of being a Purdue fan in basketball. It's nice.
I picked them to lose today and they won, so I'm a little bit pissed off.
Hey, about that, I had them winning. I had them winning and I had Clemson winning because I have two buddies that play for both teams. I have a buddy who plays for Purdue and I have a buddy who plays for Clemson.
Flex.
And right. And so if they both won, they'd play each other. And Purdue wins, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was the one that I was, I don't want to say I was most worried about.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I still thought Purdue was going to win.
Every reason in the world to be worried about Purdue in the tournament. Number one rule.
Unfortunately, it's
number one rule of the tournament is expect Purdue to lose in the first 2 rounds. Like
yeah. So, but I was kind of worried about that one, and then
I was stoked.
Great team. They were a great team in the McNeese. We should have known when they had the water boy with the big boom box.
I didn't.
It was over at that point.
I didn't put 2 and 2 together this week that was him.
It was over
I
at
didn't
that
realize
point.
he was McNeese. So
Every
yeah.
Cinderella team has that one figure, your sister Jean,
Hmm.
and when if I would have just put two and two together on that one, that was our Cinderella team. We should have saw that from a mile away. That was
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah. So moving on here, we're going to talk about the NCAA tournament. At the very end, we're going to make our pick for the national champion. But before that, we're going to make our pick for this weekend. Klon, who you got in Homestead this weekend? Good Lord willing, the creek don't rise. We get this green flag dropped.
Yeah, I was gonna say I might have. Well, we might want the creek to rise a little bit, but yeah, I might have the firefighters. I don't know. You kind of caught me here. I haven't given this much thought yet, but to be honest, it's
Here,
hard
real
to go.
quick.
It's
You
it's
want?
hard. No, I got it. I got it.
Oh,
It's
you
hard
got
to go
okay.
against him from last fall because of the finish and just how consistent he was, and he punched his ticket in the playoffs, which is what it is, I guess, at that point to hit a home run or the NASCAR finally getting their Hail Mary moment. But Tyler Reddick, man, the way he can rip the fence, like I know there's others you'll
Dude,
see some of the dirt guys, Christopher Bell, names that we've said a million times, Kyle Larson. Noah Gregson actually is really good at it too because he's just spent so much time practicing it. But yeah, Tyler Reddick for sure, man. Like I love watching him drive there. The absolute rhythm he can get compared to some other guys is unmatched. So I'll go with Tyler.
absolutely. It's a great pick. Oh man. Every I swear to God, every week you pick the guy I'm gonna pick, and I always want to pick
Stop
differently. I
asking
don't
me.
want us to just have the same. Do what?
You gotta start saying it first, and then
I
ask me.
know, I know. That's next week.
Kind
I'm
of
gonna do
unfair.
that. I'm gonna do that next week.
And you can't pick the same guy because yeah, what are we gonna talk about?
All right, exactly. I'll just go with Larson. Very similar driving style at this track. Both
Yeah.
ripping the fence. Both
It's a
have tons of speed here.
little bit of a dirt track driver's track.
Yeah,
You have a dirt background, it's a little bit of an advantage, it
for
feels like
sure.
sometimes.
Those guys where they have to know where every inch of their car is and they know exactly where it is.
Yeah.
So those guys have a lot of success here. So I'll go with Larson on this one. Just because too, like again, I feel like there just hasn't been a lot of noise out of the five camp this year. Usually by now he's got a win or he's
I would say it
made.
hasn't been I would say it's been a below average start to the year for him, just given how he's been in the five car since he's been in the five car, I
Yeah,
should say. Like this is
no, I totally agree.
a pretty poor start, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
and there for a second it kind of seemed like they were going to win this weekend. And then, of
mhm.
course, Cliff Daniels,
Oh, he fired off like he was gonna win this weekend. But
yeah.
yeah.
And then Cliff Daniels had him go with the opposite strategy there at the very end, and it kind of screwed everybody that came down pit road and didn't keep their
Guys
track
that pitted
position.
got stuck, yeah.
Yeah, so
Well, that's his car in general, getting
that's
stuck in traffic, but
that's because of your favorite car, the next gen
yeah, it's
car.
sick. Yeah. It's so cool the wheels fall off on their own even. But yeah, no, it's it gets old. I texted the group chat I'm in, one of the NASCAR fantasy leagues I'm a part of, and just said, like, I am so sick of hearing the quotes, arrow tight, arrow push, stuck in traffic. Like,
You
yes, I
don't like
understand.
it that our lower level series have faster cars?
Oh, buddy, don't even get me started about the tire test this week at Charlotte. Xfinity cars outrunning the Cup car. Like,
You don't you
can we
don't you think
can,
our top guys should have the best and fastest equipment?
can we can
What
we get
why would
out
you
of the
think that?
world? Can we get out of the world? Well, that would make a lot of sense. You're right, but can we get to the world and excuse me, getting choked up about it. But to be honest with you, I don't necessarily need like the fastest car to be the cup car. I think like the most powerful and like hard to drive one should be obviously, but like going, I guess, yeah, it would end up being the fastest car using my logic here anyway. But I want the most challenging slash best racing to be the cup car, not necessarily the fastest, but anyway, it probably would just go if they all follow the same principles and fundamentals. Whatever. Sorry, the next gen car. Can we please? Whoever thought we could get to the world where mile and a halfs we could just lay the pedal down and run wide open for a lap? Like, can we please stop with that? I mean that like in the most sincere way.
You don't like
I,
wide open qualifying?
I honestly, when this all started, like back in 2016, 17, they started talking, even early, like 15, I think they started talking about the idea of turning mile and a halfs into tracks where you could draft and run wide open, like kind of what Atlanta is, but they never really figured it out with
Right.
the last iteration of Generation 6, like that car. Like I get we could try it. It was a cool concept for a couple of years in 2019, but by 2020 we should have known like this is preposterous. Why are we it doesn't work like we thought. Let's get away from it. And here we are with we built the next gen to be a little bit different, but it's still kind of the same in that sense that like they want it to be you're on the gas hard. And they're running laps at Vegas wide open. Like that's not good. And I know Kevin Harvick said it a million times just to bring in another reference. Like put more horsepower in these things. Put 800, 900. 1,000 seems crazy, but try it. I don't know. Like the idea that they're not carrying enough speed that they have to let off. And I mean, granted, they're going fast, but Vegas used to be a 200-mile-an-hour track. Like you used to sniff 200 in like the early 2000s when they first repaved it. And
That was back
we
when we
don't.
were hitting 212, 215 at the super speedways.
Yeah, right, yeah, I mean, like, early 2000s, like '05, '07, or something, whenever they repaved it to the higher banking that it is now, but, like, you could hit 200, and you could do that at Atlanta, you could do that at other mile and a halves, probably Kansas, but we run, like, 185, and then the cars have so much grip because the tires are as wide as this desk I'm sitting at, which is, like, 4 feet, for those who obviously can't see it. They have so much grip, they just don't have to lift, and I really think that's a problem for the sport. I've just went on a really long tangent here. I realize I'm sorry, but like
No, you're good.
it just
It's your show too.
this car just continues to bother me because it just time and time again you
No, you
see
love this next gen car. It's your favorite.
you see what we call a decent race. They're 5 wide at Kansas, whatever that finish was last year, and Atlanta's been a fun experiment. Like it's cool, but it's just we're giving up so much more at other tracks to create Atlanta that it bothers me. Like at some point the shine has to wear off that a lot of this is manufactured, right? Like that the fact they can't pass, they're going to stay bunched up, but they're not really passing each other to a certain extent. Like again, it's gotten better at mile and a half than it was, but I feel like we've just engineered ourselves so far away from like what a cup car was, and that was the goal. But we've just dug our heels in awkwardly as a sport to like play the middle now. So like we're not really old NASCAR anymore, but we're not really what the last 6, 7 years were either. I don't know. It just annoys me. Like there's just something to watching an Xfinity car right now at a mile and a half compared to watching a Cup car that just I don't know looks more right to me. I guess I
It's
don't
just
know.
better. It's just flat
Yeah,
out better. I think that's the way to say it. You know,
just
it's
watch.
unfortunate to say, but the next gen car just isn't as good as the current Xfinity car that we have. It's just
Well, it's
not as
just
good of a race car.
to hopefully clean it up a little bit for those of you watching at home and make it simple. Like if you do watch an Xfinity race on a Saturday, like you can see the back end of the car in a corner, like they call it like washing out, like trying to spin out basically. Like that's what the car looks like. And they're driving it off the right rear tire, they call it. Like the driver can feel that and in just in the individual tires because of balance and stuff and such that they know that. You watch a cup race, you don't see the cars wiggling. Like they're not the back end's not washing out. The front end doesn't turn. It feels like you're turning the wheel and nothing's happening because it just like you put a snowplow down and just start driving on the road. Like it just doesn't look right to me. But again, the racing's okay at times and it's not the end of the world, I guess, but it's just very, very different. And I'm still just getting used to it, as you can tell. I just had a PTSD moment here, I think. But yeah, it's different. And then you hear this, like you said, like the Xfinity cars running faster at Charlotte this week at a tire test, and they just ran laps at Vegas again, wide open, nobody lifted. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's not how mile and a halves are supposed to be, but
Nope.
that's neither here nor there.
No, it is not. So we've got our winners picked for this weekend. We've got a massive basketball tournament going on right now, March
The
Madness. And I want to know here before we head out, who is your NCAA tournament winner?
Uh, I love March Madness. First of all, I usually put a lot of thought in like breaking down the winners, and I think I knew my tournament winner this year faster than just about any other year when filling out a bracket. And it's very simple this year for some reason, but I'm a sucker for Florida teams all the time. Just love the state, so shout out. But um, I don't know. The Gators just spoke to me. Somebody I heard on a radio show or a podcast I was listening to was like, Florida's like Noah's Ark in the sense that like every position they're good at, they have two guys that are good at it. And so that sold me. I don't know. I just never heard
No,
somebody call a
it's
basketball team that
absolutely true.
before.
They're the most well-rounded team in the tournament in terms of depth, in terms of skill at every position. They're really incredible. Like it's no secret why they're the one seed, one of the 4 seeds in the tournament. So
Yep.
I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Man, I love that Florida pick, and I always try and break it down in a sense of naming the teams that can win the championship. And then I
Yeah.
try and find the
Yep.
teams that can be Cinderella teams. And then I feel like the rest can kind of fill itself in.
Yep. There's a
So,
science. There's a science.
right.
I'm glad you have a science too, because yeah, there absolutely is.
Absolutely. You have to. So my thing was any of the 4 seeds can win it. I think that as for the 2 seeds, I think that Michigan State can win it. And then I think that there is 1 3 seed that can win it, and that's Texas Tech. All 6 of those teams for me were off the charts. The depth
Texas
is
Tech,
there.
all right.
They've got great defensive ratings. They score the ball well. They hit free throws. They play well as a team. They have, good conference records. And that's kind of my criteria. With all that being said,
This will be good when you don't pick one of those 6 teams. This is going to be great.
You ready?
Yeah, let's hear it.
It's Duke. Duke, Blue Devils, all the way.
Yeah.
Cooper Flagg is he's incredible.
How long can Cooper Flagg sit out in your eyes before it becomes a problem? Can they make it to next weekend?
Yeah.
No issues?
Oh, well, to next weekend. Sorry. That was
next round. Yes, I think we all think they can beat the 16, but
yeah, I think they beat the 16, and I think when it comes to that 8 seed game, they would play.
Is that the Baylor and
Oklahoma?
Is it Oklahoma?
Is it Oklahoma?
Texas.
No, it's Baylor. No, it is Baylor. It's Baylor, not Oklahoma. It's of course, now I'm not going to remember. But anyways, I think as you look for it, I'll continue here. I think it's a very interesting situation because it's going to be one where I think, sit him on the bench. Mississippi State, that's what it is. Yes. And they dress him and have him ready to go if needed. And if the game gets a little out of hand or something, then he can play hurt and come in. But I don't see him playing in the 16 seed game. They shouldn't have a problem. There's so much talent on that roster. They should walk right through whoever is there.
No. They could darn near play the managers in the 16 seed game, and they might beat them. Just given how the Duke program looks right now, they could shy up and go play. Like you might get them.
He actually might. So I think the 16 seed's a no-go for him. And then I think when he plays the 8-9 game, it is a limited capacity or a no-go
kind of deal.
Right. The problem is because even at that 8 seed level, like it's not all that uncommon for an 8 to beat a 1. We've seen it quite a bit. It absolutely can happen.
If it's Baylor. You got Roach or whatever his name is, the old point guard. He plays for him now. So that's
Jeremy Roach,
Yeah, vendetta game, but
so
I don't know if they need him, to be honest with you. I don't know.
You don't think so?
They struggled against North Carolina last weekend without him, but that's like conference opponent. That's North Carolina.
That's a rival. It's
North
totally
Carolina
different.
Might get hot here and go to the Elite Eight themselves, but like,
dude, they looked great in that play-in game.
Well, they're pissed off, man. They just had the whole world for 3 days say they're not supposed to be here. So,
yep.
Yeah, they're pissed off. I would feel really bad for San Diego State and now whoever. I don't remember who North Carolina's running into. God dang, I should look again.
The 6 seed.
I feel really bad for them, for Ole Miss. Because
Ole Miss, Ole Miss.
You're catching a buzzsaw on Friday.
Yeah, a hot one too. No, it's gonna be interesting. I'm so excited for this weekend. We got
It's the best.
Homestead, which always produces a really good product of racing for us. And then we've got 4 straight days of just NCAA tournament action, upsets, anything you could ask for. It's going to be awesome.
It's one of the crown jewels of obviously the whole sports year, but this little run you go on where it goes like Super Bowl, Daytona 500, March Madness, opening day for baseball, if you're a baseball fan, the Masters. Like it's a good little
spectacular.
Time.
The Masters too. That's a couple weeks away. That's going to be good.
That's the other good one.
That'll be awesome.
Oh, we'll have to make picks for that, but yeah.
We will. We'll have to make picks, and I'll tell you now, I'm going Scotty. So just a heads up.
That's all right. You did get to pick first. That's fine.
That's just heads up, going Scotty. Okay, so great show today. We will join you guys again next week to talk about Homestead, recap that, and then go to if it happens. And then we go to Darlington next, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So throwback race.
Yes.
Nice. So that's a fun one. That's
Homestead, Darlington, Bristol.
Yep.
Yeah.
Martinsville. Is it Martinsville after that?
Or Richmond? No, Richmond's not that early. But
is it Richmond? I feel like it might be.
I
don't know. We're so
hold on.
There we go.
It's coming.
I feel like we're like on the Joe Rogan podcast. Say, look that up, Jamie.
Yeah, seriously. We just don't have a Jamie. Homestead. Then we go to Martinsville. Then Darlington.
Okay, Martinsville, then Darlington. I knew Martinsville was somewhere in that mix.
Oh, yeah, I'm a total moron. I didn't realize there's 2 Sundays left in March. I thought we were going straight from this weekend to April 6th. Oops. Shit. My bad.
Whoops. Before we go.
Oh, yeah.
You ready?
3.
Dos.
That's
all right.
I don't know why I ever switched. That was dumb. I don't know. Let's go 6. Let's try a different number. Even though statistically it's probably the wrong idea.
1 off. 5. So close.
1 off both times.
Oh. The rough stretch starts again. No, I'm just
kidding. No, buddy. If it should have to be, there should be a consequence if it gets to like 10. Because now what am I at again? 3 in a row.
3 in a row. No, because you doubled last episode.
Oh, I did. Well, then did I get 3 shakes though? Because I got the 1 free one at the start. I got I got
hit it right off.
You
hit it right out the gate on the last one, and then you hit it at the end, and then now you missed twice. So now we're at -2.
Math. Yep. You got
Math. Like I said, wasn't a good student. Hey guys, appreciate you for tuning in as always. Join us next week. We'll recap the weekend at Miami. If it happens, we'll look ahead to Martinsville. And yeah, thanks for joining as always. Tell your grandma about us. We'd appreciate it very much. She'll appreciate you for it, and inspiring quote to send us off here, Klon. What you got?
I wish I had a good one off the top of my head here, but every day is a new day. Treat it as such.
Perfect. I love it. All right. We'll see you guys next time.